Hello everyone, this is LATHA AKULA. In this video, we are going to study about the next concept, that is water movement up a plant. So in the last video, we have studied about how the water enter into the roots. From the roots, how it enter into the xylem. Up to xylem we have completed, right? Next, from the xylem, water move upward direction. Now we'll see how the water will move upward direction. So here, the water movement up in a plant, it occurs in two processes. One is root pressure and second one is transpiration pull. The root pressure means what? The pressure created by the roots in the xylem channel, that is called as root pressure. And whereas in transpiration there are several forces are present like cohesion, adhesion, surface tension. So all these will work in the transpiration. So if we see about the root pressure, we know that water will enter into the roots. Along with the water, various other minerals present in the soil also pushed into the roots, into the vascular tissue by the process of diffusion. As a result of the entry of all these minerals, there is some pressure created inside the xylem, and that positive pressure is known as root pressure. That pressure is known as root pressure, and this root pressure that helpful for the moving water up to small heights, not up to the long heights. It will helpful for the moving the water up to some small heights. The effect of this root pressure that can be observed during the night time and also in the early morning, because in that time the transpiration is low, and this root pressure usually provide a gentle push in the overall process of the water transport. In many herbaceous plants like tomato, oats and garden Nestorianum, the root pressure is much high when compared to the transpiration. Here in these plants, the transpiration is low. And tomato, oats, it is a garden Nestorianum. In those plants, the root pressure is much high. And these plants, they lose small amount of the excess water in the form of water droplets. So these water droplets will ooze out from the plant, from the margins of the leaves and from the tips of the leaves. And there are some special openings in the grass plates called as hydrothodes. By means of those hydrothodes also water droplets will be oozed. And this leakage of the water in the form of water droplets from these special parts is known as guttation. The process is called as guttation, and which will occur mostly in the night and early in the morning. And this water contains, if that water is examined, chemical analysis was done, that contains several organic and inorganic substances were present. And if you say in the tall plants, this root pressure that do not play a major role in the overall process, but because of the transpiration, water will travel into the xylem in the form of a continuous chains of water molecules will travel in the xylem, and because of the transpiration some tension is created in the xylem. Sometimes those chains may break down, those continuous chains of water molecules may often break. This root pressure that re-establish the continuous form of the water, and the magnitude of the root pressure is nearly 1 to 2 atmosphere, and by means of that it can raise water up to 10 to 20 meters of height. This is about the root pressure. And the next one is the transpiration pull. We know what is the transpiration. So in the transpiration from the stomata which are present in the leaves of the stomatal openings, the excess water will be lost to the atmosphere in the form of water vapor, which is called as transpiration. And here this transpiration also provide a major role in the uptake of water. And here water it is mainly pulled through the plant by transpiration from the leaves, right? So this one model is explained for transpiration, that is called as cohesion tension transpiration pull model. In this model, two scientists they explained about that how the water will be translocated by the transpiration. The persons are the Dixon and Jolly. And if you see in the plants, less than 1% of the water that reaches to the leaves is used for the photosynthesis and growth, and most of the water will be lost in the form of water vapor through the stomata. That process is called as transpiration. In this transpiration there are several physical forces are working. They were called as cohesion, adhesion and surface tension. And that the first one is the cohesion. What is meant by cohesion? Here, there is a mutual attraction between the water molecules occurs, that is called as cohesion. And adhesion means the attraction between the water molecules and also trachyary elements. Here, by means of these trachyary elements, the water was traveling right by the walls of the trachyary elements. The water molecules were attracted. That is called as adhesion. And next one is the surface tension. Surface tension means the water in the when compared to the gaseous phase, in the liquid phase, water molecules are attracted more. This is called as surface tension. This cohesive force is also known as tensile strength. The cohesive force is also known as tensile strength. The water column does not break its connection from the trachyary elements because of this adhesive force. We have already studied about this, right? So water column have the attraction between the attraction with the trachyary elements. That attraction is called as adhesive force. Here in photosynthesis, water is necessary. The water is essential for the photosynthesis, and this transpiration provides water for the photosynthesis. This xylem vessels, they supply water from roots to leaf vein, right? The xylem vessels this water evaporates through the stomata by the process called as transpiration. And if you see, when compared to the atmosphere, that is atmosphere, they have a low concentration of water in the form of water vapor. And when compared to the atmosphere, and the inside of the plant, that is in the substomatal cavity and intercellular spaces of the plant, that has much higher concentration of the water. So according to water movement, water always moves from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, right? Here inside the plant, the water concentration is high, and in the surrounding atmosphere the concentration is low. Then the water moves from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, that is from the plant to from inside the plant to the water will move to the outside environment through the stomata. And here, because of this, it creates a pull. This transpiration can create a pressure. So this transpiration creates a pressure which is sufficient to lift the water column up to 130 meters of height within the xylem. So because of this pulling action created by the transpiration only, in the plants, in the taller plants also, water will travel up to several meters height. So this is about the transpiration pull, which play the major role in the transportation of the water. So transpiration is nothing but loss of excess water in the form of water vapor by means of the leaf openings called as stomata, right? So why it is necessary? It is necessary for the absorption of the water and mineral salts. By means of this transpiration only, water will be moved up to the several meters heights, and this transpiration helps in the ascent of sap, and it helps in the lowering of the temperature around the plant, and it occurs through the majorly through the stomata. And there are different types of transpirations, that is 4 types of transpirations were present. One is stomatal transpiration, cuticular transpiration, bark transpiration, and lenticular transpiration. Stomatal transpiration, that will occurs majorly by the stomata which are present in the leaf. Total transpiration, it will occupy nearly 50 to 90% of water is by the stomatal transpiration. And next one is the cuticular transpiration. Cuticle is the outer wall of the epidermal cells, is called as cuticle, right? So by means of this cuticle also transpiration occurs. It will occupy nearly 3 to 10% of the water loss. And third one is the lenticular transpiration. Here these lenticels are the aerating pores which are present in the cork of the woody stems, twigs, fruits. And in the total transpiration, it will occupy 0.1% of water loss. Next one is the bark transpiration. This bark transpiration means the bark of the woody stem also lost some amount of water. It contributes nearly 1% of the total transpiration. So this is all about the different types of transpirations. So if you see the structure of stomata, The stomata, where the stomata are present, they are present in on the surface of the leaf, right? Stomata are the tiny apertures which are present in the epidermis of the leaves and also on the young stems. Greenery parts of the young stems also consist of the stomata. And this stomata, it is the opening. This pore-like structure is called as stomata. This stomata is surrounded by two kidney or bean-shaped structures called as guard cells. These two structures are called as guard cells, and these guard cells contains chloroplast. That means they helps in the photosynthesis also. So photosynthesis also occurs in the guard cells. And the inner walls, if you see these guard cells, the inner walls of these guard cells are thicker than the outer walls. Outer walls are thin and inner walls are thick, and if we see this, the change in the turgidity that causes opening and closing of the stomata. If the water is present in the guard cells, they will become turgid, and that causes opening and closing of stomata. If turgidity increases in the guard cells, the thin outer walls, see these are the thin outer walls, right? The thin outer walls will bulge out. See here, this will not in turgid condition, but this is in turgid condition. These thin outer walls will bulge out and force the inner walls to become crescent shape. Crescent shape means half moon shape. And the guard cells, they have radially arranged microfibrils, cellulosic microfibrils. How the opening and the closing of stomata occurs? Because of the presence of radially arranged cellulosic microfibrils. They helps in the closing and opening of the guard cells, and these guard cells surrounded by some other cells called as accessory cells or subsidiary cells. Accessory or subsidiary cells are present. They do not have any chloroplast. If you see in dicots and monocots, the dicot leaf is called as dorsiventral leaf and the monocot leaf is called as isobilateral leaf, right? The dicot leaf, they have a lower surface, have great number of stomata. The lower surface has a more number of stomata when compared to the upper surface, whereas in the monocot leaf or isobilateral leaf, they have both sides, they have upper and lower surface, they have the equal number of stomata. And if you see in monocots, the guard cells are like this. So this is the monocot stomata. So the monocots, the guard cells are in ellipsoid or dumbbell shape. How they were in the form of ellipsoid or dumbbell shaped stomata were present, and these stomata are also called as graminaceous or poaceous stomata. These stomata are also called as graminaceous or poaceous stomata, and these stomata have thin end walls and thick middle walls. Thin end walls and thick middle walls are present in the graminaceae. So in the grasses, they have thin end walls and thick middle walls, whereas in the dicots, inner walls are thick and outer walls are thin, whereas in monocots, they have thin end walls and thick middle walls are present. This is opened stomata and this is closed stomata. Okay, this is about the structure of stomata. Now we will see about the factors affecting transpiration. There are several external factors and plant factors that control the rate of transpiration. In that, the external factors are light, relative humidity, temperature and wind. In that, the light. If you see the light, the blue light, and in the presence of blue light and red light, the transpiration that occurs more, and the light induces the opening of stomata. And in the absence of light, the stomata will be closed. And not only that, the temperature also, the temperature increases, the rate of transpiration also increases. Next, relative humidity. If the surrounding atmosphere have humid atmosphere, the rate of transpiration decreases. And if it is a dry atmosphere, the rate of transpiration increases. Temperature. In the high temperature, rate of transpiration is also high, and in the low temperature, the rate of transpiration will also decreases. Wind, the blowing wind, that increases the rate of transpiration. And available soil water. If the soil has less amount of water, the rate of transpiration decreases. If the soil has more amount of the water or available water in the soil is high, the rate of transpiration also increases. And the plant factors like structure of leaf, that is some leaves they have a thick cuticle, sunken stomata, waxy coating is present on the leaf, thick walled hypodermis is present, and all these they reduce the rate of transpiration. And not only that, the canopy structure of the plant and the plant water status, number of distribution of stomata, and number of stomata, all these will control the rate of transpiration. So with this we have completed the factors about the transpiration. In the next video we are going to study about the mechanism of closing and opening of stomata.